Okay, so I was caught a little off guard when the video ended. I thought I had been watching the time a little bit better. Where was I? Okay, the data analysis plan. Now, this could potentially look a little bit different once I submit, but overall, within the study, I would be a participant observer as well as an educator. Some of my students would be used. Um, I designed this study because I could do it. Um, and I wanted to stick with something that I thought was feasible rather than coming up with an idea for a study that was a little more grandiose, and that I didn't feel equipped to describe, and that I really couldn't fully conceptualize. So I went with something that I felt I knew, using settings and participants that I also knew, with a question, an educational problem that is linked to my research in my lit review, and also a question that I have on a regular basis within my classroom. But that was an aside. The data will be displayed and explained using graphical data analysis. In short, I will use graphs. I mean, obviously I will break it down as well, but the more common and accepted way to explain data in a single subject research project is through visual analysis. Discussion of quality indicators. Okay, so the participants in a single subject study are each an independent control, and within this study, each of the participants are independent. They're working on content that is specifically chosen for where they are functioning, because what we are looking for is for the result after the fact. It would be silly then to put all of the students on the same content, because it wouldn't necessarily lead to valid results. The process was described thoroughly, and thankfully it's not a super difficult process. The students are located within this school. They have an IQ below 70, and they can operate VISL on their own. The dependent variable is detailed, or is described with detail, in the hopes that someone could replicate it. And the dependent variable is the assessment that we conduct on the content, and that assessment is through VISL, which VISL creates, and then also the paper-based assessment that will be aligned to the same content that the students are working on. And the independent variable also described with detail. Sorry, that's my cat. And it's time and the change in presentation over the assessment period. So the time is described as being 4 weeks, or until the student achieves 90% accuracy over 3 trials. And then also the time for the assessment period is clearly described as being once a week for 4 weeks, with both the VISL and the paper-based assessment. My reflection is that at first, determining the direction of the research was easy, and what it's an area where I think, and I noticed during my lit review, where some research is and data are lacking. Yes, we have research studies that talk about interventions that are being used with students as we, push for a much more rigorous content. But there is a lack of research on what happens next. Are they retaining it? Are these students able to use this? And, what are the long-term effects and outcomes for these students over time? The challenge that came with this was narrowing it down to a specific, manageable process. And that's, part of the reason why I went with something that I knew and I could envision setting it up and running it within my school and with the resources available to me. And, removing the need to train and introduce participants to the application, as well as removing the need to train the staff, really cuts down on the amount of time, lead time for a project like this. And here are my references. I hope this was coherent, honestly. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it.